Welcome to Rules of Villainy episode 51, where 3 new trading card game players quest and challenge their way to the competitive top tables and discuss their opinions on Disney Lorcana. This evening, as we always do, we'll be covering the latest news in Lorcana, answering your questions, and going over the latest developments in the metagame. Though we do have a little special twist tonight on that. I'm Villain Vince, joined as always by my 2 co-hosts, Villainy and the mayor of Lorcana himself, Brad. And in this strange time, unknown area of podcasts, how's it going for both of you? I always say good evening, and then I just remember that like most people might be listening to this at like 11 a.m. on their drive to work.
That's what you mean by strange time then. I'm like, what happened in the podcast world that I should be worried about? Like,
I don't know. She should be like some tiny whiny stuff.
I thought there was something going on outside. I was like, is it a tornado or something? Like, is everybody gone? Like, I haven't looked outside in a while.
In this strange time for podcasts, how are you guys holding up? Okay, I guess. No, I'm excited, man. Worlds is this weekend. I can't believe it.
Yes, Worlds. And Vince says we're new trading card gameplay. You know, what he says in the beginning there, but like 51 episodes now. One episode away from doing this for a full year in a row. It's crazy. It's crazy to think
I know. It's crazy. I will say tonight I was at my local game store playing the greatest trading card game ever, Disney Lorcana. And I was playing a multiplayer game, and I was playing that Horizon, and just wiped my 2 opponents out of their hands. And one of them had Diablo.
The legendary.
Like, legendary. And I was like, thank you.
I was like, I'm just glad when Vince said the best trading card game, he didn't follow it up with like some sort of Star Wars F1 hybrid card game.
You mean these, the Paddock Pass?
Oh my God.
Goodness.
I hear the fans want me to open those on a live stream. So
what fans?
Listen, I'm just saying. I feel like one of those crazy folks with like the red lines and like 2 different topics and stuff. And I'm just telling you, F1 encompasses all my fandoms, right? So it's got Lego, because I've obviously got the Lego, and we got F1. They're their whole partner. They even built special Lego cars for the Miami Grand Prix. And I'm going to tie this into Disney because Disney has become an official partner for Formula One, and Disney owns the IP to Disney Lorcana. So there you go.
They have a lot of good Lego sets too.
Crazed person. Yeah. One of these days I should do like a Lego live stream for our listeners of like one of my Disney sets.
Listeners, you're going to do an audio only live stream of you building Legos? Like an ASMR? Just like click the pieces together.
I think it's a visual format.
Now we will place one of these pieces.
I tell you what, you know what?
Into piece.
That ASMR stuff, people go crazy over it.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get into some Underworld news. Who's ready for the first Disney Lorcana World Championships? As we've said, it's finally here. Saturday and Sunday, the top 28 players are going to quest and challenge it out to be crowned the first Disney Lorcana World Champion. And if you're listening on a Friday or Saturday in the St. Louis area, you should come join the Rules of Villainy at game night on Sunday, June 29th for World Championships. What party? Wait, what's that? We're going to go live right now to our game night World's Watch Party correspondent, the mayor himself, with more information.
World's Watch Party. Yes, we had game night on Sunday, June 29th, starting at 8 a.m. bright and early. One of our great community members here, Paul, is bringing a big projector, a big screen. We tested it out this past Monday night. It's going to be fantastic. We got all kinds of fun things planned for you guys between Open Play Lorcana, maybe some giveaways, promo giveaways for sure, maybe some enchanted giveaways if you're lucky. But anything you can think of Lorcana related, Disney related, bring it. We'll have a good time. I'm going to be bringing the Chronicles of Light game, the Jafar's Palace Heist, Villainous, anything to keep you occupied while we're playing or while we're watching the Worlds event all day. And yeah, I'm just really, really excited about it. Drop by anytime. We'll be open all day up until they crown the champion. And then, we'll celebrate and move on. Yes,
Brad, Mr. Mayor, what happens if I arrive there right at 8 a.m.? Will there be any circular pastries for me to eat?
There will be circular pastries there for you to eat.
Donuts, let's go.
Also known as donuts. Yes, I will be going by and picking up at least a couple of boxes.
It's
first come, first serve.
It's the free space on the Lorcana bingo. And how many times Andy will say jank is also going to be one of those questions.
I'm camping out early for them donuts. First come, first serve.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mayor. And we're back. Because also, the Rules of Villainy will be celebrating our 1-year anniversary on Wednesday, July 9th, with a live show from Fortuna Games in St. Louis, Missouri. If you're in the area, you should come join us. We'll have cake, pizza, swag, and of course, Lorcana. We'll be live streaming from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. Central Time. So be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon to make sure you don't miss out. And now, moving on to Quest or Challenge. This is the segment where the villains will read some prompts and will answer whether we quest, meaning that we really believe that this statement is true, or we'll challenge it because I don't think it's quite as true as we people might think it will be. So, our first prompt is the world's final will go to Game 5. Andy?
Silver Scrapes, let's go. Game 5, I believe.
So you're questing it, huh? You're questioning?
Of course I'm questing. Cool. I apologize for those who didn't get my professional esports reference.
Oh.
When a League of Legends match goes to Game 5, they play.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, from that segment. Something about Legends of something. I don't know.
We're gonna have a card game soon. It's fun.
This was hard to to determine because I don't know who they're going to be, right? I think since they are the best players in the world, they probably I'll quest it. I think they can go to Game 5, and if it's anything like professional sports speculation, maybe they get more incentives to extend it past the 3 games that they need to win.
What?
I don't know.
Are you possibly saying that the world's competitors are going to be bribed to throw games to make it to 5 games? Holy smoke!
More screen time, baby. More screen time. That's
the biggest scandal in TCG player. You heard it in TCG games. You've heard it here from the mayor himself. He's calling it.
Wow, that's a bold prediction there, Brad.
Well, before we go down that rabbit hole, I am questing this. I believe that these are the most competitive players. They have achieved something that thousands of other people have not achieved. They become one of 28 people, whether they won a DLC or they made it through the continentals in Europe or the United States. We're looking at the best competitors, and they're going to make it all the way to competitive top tables. And this is going to go to 5 rounds. We're going to see all 3 decks and of each. Well, not of each opponent, because that mathematically doesn't quite work out. But or would we actually? No, would we? We would see all 3 decks from each.
They have
opponent.
to win with all 3 decks.
You have to win
so we would.
Decks.
So
Game
for all
5 would
5,
be both of the third
players.
decks.
Yeah. So hey,
they
that's
can
right.
switch too. So like technically in 3 games you could still see all 3 decks because they could choose to, they win.
Well, I'm saying from each opponent's 3 decks.
Right.
Well, you're right. You could switch.
6, right, to see all 6. I do think that this may be, this may be like an easy question. I don't know the format well enough, and wait for later. We're going to talk about it a little more and probably figure this out. But I think because you have to play all 3 of your decks, I think the format kind of leans towards a Game 5. So it might be almost inevitable that we
spoilers, sir.
Game 5.
Spoilers. Anyway,
also, I happen to know that the Worlds is rigged, and they already have the winner and all the matches.
Next
prompt. The mayor told me this. He told me this in
the
secret.
statement is
I'm blowing the
DLCs
whistle.
will start in September. DLCs will start in September. Brad?
They better.
Yeah, I'll quest that. I think that's the earliest they could do it. I was worried that they would start in August, and not have enough time. But just I think September is a good starting point to do that. Yeah,
Dude, what do you mean we'd have enough time? We found out about last year. They announced DLCs at like early April, and it was at the end of May. They could just come out and be like, "Hey, DLCs are next week."
You'll still go.
Yeah, I would prefer more time personally, but I guess time, for the amount of the year that's left, I think if they want to get more in, maybe August is the early. I would not like to see one in July, but especially when it's like the Worlds is at the end of this. It's this weekend, so like, if there's one in July, that is not enough planning time. So August at the earliest. September would be more comfortable. I think to plan accordingly, especially personally with the wedding coming up. I'm gonna quest it because I want that to be true.
Cool. All right, Andy.
Yeah, Ravensburger. If you guys hear this, Brad has a wedding coming up. So first off, Ryan Miller. First off, Ryan Miller, you and C. Warner invited. Now I can get you an invite. Don't worry. But more so, make sure you put the DLCs like not on his wedding day, obviously.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
You got to work around Brad's schedule here, please.
My budget.
Nope, or hear me out. You join our non-existent Patreon so that we can help Brad fund going to DLCs, or more realistic, you can go to partner.tcgplayer.com/ROV and to buy all the greatest Lorcana cards that you need, and the villains get just a little bit to support us.
Brad also,
but anyway, Andy.
I was gonna say Brad also does appearances as the mayor of Lorcana. He requires one top hat and only 2 M&Ms.
This is actually really serious for those listeners out there. For us, I don't ask for many things. In fact, I ask for nothing. Is that but I do,
as he says after he just plugged the Patreon.
If you could get
you put a non-existent Patreon and affiliate link.
Touche. No, I was gonna say though is if there's any what do you call those? What do you call haberdasheries? If you are a haberdasher, and you know how to make a hat, to get Brad a true mayoral top hat. Yes. We need that for him. It's the thing that we need to complete for the mayor, and he'll wear it. We'll make him wear it. But anyway, Andy, what are you doing? Questing or challenge? DLCs will start in September.
Let me ask you this: when does Fabled come out?
Comes out in August.
When in August?
I'm not really sure exactly. I it's somewhere in our notes, but I don't remember exactly.
So if
like
it's
mid-August,
if it's closest without going over Price is Right style, I am choosing the first legal weekend of Fabled for competitive play. So that would be what, 2 weeks or 1 week? Is it 1 week or 2 weeks after big box release that it becomes legal for tournament play?
So I'm fairly certain, because I don't think they've updated the rules. Fabled? They may, but I think it's 2 weeks after. Yes.
Fabled is September 5th for wide, and it probably comes out a week before to local game stores.
September 5th, and then it's 2 weeks. So closest without going over, I'm going to choose 2 weeks after September 5th.
So you're going September. So he's questing.
Late September. I'm questing, but it's like a really late quest. Like I put my hand on it and I thought about it for a really, really long time until my opponent almost called a judge because I was taking too long. And then I was like, okay, quest.
All right. I'm questing this too. And you both basically, I think, said everything that I would say here. So let's move on to the last.
Do you guys think there wouldn't be a Reign of Jafar DLC, right?
No, I don't.
Am I crazy?
Think so. I don't think so.
That would be crazy.
That's
I mean, honestly, quite frankly, I think the Reign of Jafar, quote unquote, DLC is going to be Gen Con.
That's Not bad.
So it's gonna be it's gonna be my worlds, baby. I'm gonna get one of those playmats for my triple deck. I'm gonna triple net deck Zan.
Next prompt. Disney Lorcana, and her final prompt. Disney Lorcana will have collector packs. Oof.
My heart says yes. My wallet says.
Well, I want them. I absolutely want them. And I think I really, really want to quest on this. But I think right now I'm going to challenge.
Okay.
Brad, my reasoning for this is that we see them doing gift sets. We see them experimenting with new product lines. I think it's going to be a while before we get to that. And so we've got the Iconics coming out. Sure. We got the what's the other rarity that's been introduced?
But this doesn't have a time frame though, Vince. This just says will. You're saying they're not going to do it. Then if they do it 10 years from now, I'm going to clip this, and you're
okay. Well, you clip it. You clip it. You clip it.
This is our answer. We're chiseling this in stone. Like, I lost sleep over this answer.
I'm also challenging it. At least again, as to Andy's point, for a while, it's going to be a hard challenge. It is a hard challenge because I do want them, but I think at the heart of the game, I think Ravensburger and Disney want people to keep this game affordable as much as possible. And I know that their incentive.
You did not just put Disney and affordability in the same.
Well, I mean, like, you know what I mean, though. Like, this is one of the easiest games to get, cheapest games to get into right now. We just if you look at the market of everything that, like, anybody could, just pretty much get the cards and play the game. And I think the more that you put in the collector packs and stuff, people are going to start being, some people, the casual people, the social people playing the game as well are going to be turned off at, like, they're going to be pretty, but like, I don't want to dump that kind of money into it. I want to buy packs, play the game.
They don't have
and maybe those aren't for them, so yeah. I don't know. I'm 50-50 on it right now. I feel like I want to challenge it. I would quest, with my heart, because I do want more shiny things, but that's where I stand with it. I'm torn because I both want but can see why they wouldn't do it.
Andy, questing or challenging?
I'm gonna quest/challenge like both of you guys did. I'm gonna quest for now, but it's like on a clock. I can retract it later. But
you're doing the takesies backsies rule.
Yeah, quest with takesies backsies allowed later. So I think they will have collector packs, and that's mainly like what Brad was saying. For the new people and stuff. Like it's not for them, right? For me, I buy way too much product. But let's say I bought less product and I buy all the cards. I get all the cards in some way or another. I trade a bunch. I buy singles with partner.tcgplayer.com/ROV. And then, like, why would I buy any more product, right? I have the cards that I want and I need. Right now, it is very, very, very cost inefficient for me to be buying all of the packies that I am. We just do it because we like it. If there was a higher price point for a better chance for me to get just the cards that I wanted, which are the fancy ones at this point, trade in those, 9 cards that are just bulk for me. That seems like a free win for everyone.
I think for players like you, especially, I was thinking about as you were describing it. I think at the top of the set, right? You bought how many cases? At least 2. You top heavy at the beginning of the set, and then you buy, sporadically throughout the rest. But it's diminishing returns on all those packs afterwards. And so I think with a higher value pack with a higher price point, the packs that you aren't buying throughout the rest of the set, or as much as you did at the top, will make up, financial, at least in the financial, to buy those collector ones. So I see the value in them, and I'm torn on where they're at.
Yeah, absolutely. But let us know your thoughts on these 3 prompts in the comments below. Let's move on to Constituents Corner with the mayor, Take it away, Mr. Mayor.
Sure. Our first question from Heather here on our Rules of Villainy Discord asks, which character has been done the most justice in Lorcana? This can be based on card playability, enchanteds, anything you want. We'll start with
No,
Vic.
I think we start with you.
Why start with me?
Because you're the prepared one. You came in with all the notes.
Let me just first start by saying I read this for like a day, and I was preparing my answer on this when I thought has been done the worst, not the most. And so I'm over here like Mariano Guzman is just like, they didn't give him crap for a card. Like, why does it have to be so bad? No, I misread it. So I'll be ill prepared. Let's start with you, Brad.
Well, I went through before the episode and made a list of just a number of cards who had a lot of cards in the game and representation. Came up with some numerics for a few of them that are interesting. The one that I chose before I even made the list that I thought made the most sense, at least in the aspect that Heather asked, based on playability, enchanteds, anything. I think this card touches all of those. I'm going to say, and she has the least of all of the cards that I've written down, but Rapunzel. Because Rapunzel is a card in Amber, the Gifted with Healing. She has 6 unique cards in the game, and now with the current set, that she has an enchanted as well. But the Amber Rapunzel is a card that I think every Amber deck plays. Like whether or not you're playing Amber Steel, Amber whatever, Amber Amethyst aggro, anything that needs draw plays that Rapunzel, because damage removing and card draw is a big deal in the game. And even if you're making a puppy deck, they throw Rapunzel in just for card draw. And as for the playability of that card, the enchanted on the new set, that's really, really pretty. And I mean, we haven't had a lot of time to experiment with whether or not the new Rapunzel is good, but she's got a sapphire one, she's got a couple more amber ones or whatever. I think that she is one of the top cards in the game all around for the parameters that Heather set here, and that's the one that I chose. But I have a whole list here that I want to talk about after you guys throw an answer out there, if you have answers.
Well, mine would have been, I think, like originally I was thinking Maleficent, but ultimately I'm going to settle with Ursula, just because I think Ursula has some decent, really powerful cards that are pretty staples within the meta. We have the Deceiver of All. You've got the Sea Witch Queen.
Vanessa.
And then you've also, what's up?
Vanessa. You got Ursula Vanessa.
Vanessa. Yeah, you've got Ursula Vanessa. And then I feel like I'm missing one from the
Shift Ursula, and Amber is underrated.
Yeah.
Not that it's great,
but yeah, ultimately I think like she's actually been done pretty well.
Yeah.
The only thing that's hasn't been done well that I don't think I'm wrong about this, but correct me if I'm wrong, she doesn't have a rule of villainy.
Not
no,
yet.
she's the
Maleficent Dragon does.
No.
Ursula has the first one,
rule of villainy,
and Maleficent has the 9th. Yeah.
Oh, does she? She has the first
rule of villainy. If you're going to be evil, you've got to have style.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That was the theory for a while.
I'm forgetting it. That's the Ursula I'm forgetting.
Yeah.
A lot of people for a while thought that
set.
the rules of villainy were going to be the order of events in which we saw like the big championships. Like Ursula, after the first set was the first one, so we expected the second. We didn't expect. They built Hades to be the next one, but it turned out to be Jafar. But Scar has the second rule of villainy. So
Andy, your answer.
Well, so I think Mickey Mouse has the most enchanteds, right? So if we're going based
he also
on
has the most cards at 21 unique cards.
Most cards, certainly, but it has the most enchanteds, I think. 4 of them, right? There's a couple with 3. I guess
at least 4 that I can think of.
Yeah, my ultimate answer, I think the card that is sort of pound for pound the best is Tamatoa. There's only 3 of them, but even Drab Little Crab is a 2-cost 1/4, which I mean, we really want 1-cost 1/4s, but like 2-cost 1/4 is not the worst stat line you could have. But Happy as a Clam and So Shiny are just just so great. And the Happy as a Clam Enchanted, in my opinion, probably the best looking Enchanted in the game.
Yep.
Close runner up to Arthur, who has 2 really, really, really good looking enchantments.
One character, Andy. One.
You said Maleficent and Ursula, right?
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, Brad, you want us to run us through the numbers real quick? What highlights?
Running through the numbers here, you did touch on the Mickey. He has the most. I didn't include him on the list because of the playability. Mickey does pop up in a few decks or whatever, but 21 cards out of
don't you do such harm against Brave Little Taylor?
Yeah, I've had Brave Little Taylor in my Fawcett decks before. But out of the Fab Five, Mickey had 21, Minnie had 15, Donald at 16, Goofy at 9, Pluto at 6. All of them see different play in different variations of decks. I started with the princesses, though, because that's what first came to mind. Elsa had the most at 10. 10 unique cards, and she was going to be my pick before. I was like, well, Rapunzel, I think, all around because of that Gifted with Healing, and the value of that card is what I picked. But Raya has 9, Moana has 9, without an Enchanted, though. If Moana had an Enchanted, I included her because she's got a lot of good cards in there as well. And then Anna at 9, Maui at 6. He's not a princess, but he's up there in the Disney animation. Maui's a really good one. He's got all these different variations. Maui, hero to all, and Half Shark especially. But we've had fun with the whale. We've had fun with the whale before.
Easy.
But yeah, I went through and looked at all of those and landed on Rapunzel. But I hope that satisfies Heather's question there.
Great question.
Great question.
All right, from Hello Nurse 815 from the live stream Deck Test Tuesdays on Tuesdays with Andy and Kirsten asked, what other iconic lines are you wanting to see on a card?
Yeah,
and this was revolving around pull the lever, wrong lever. We're talking on the stream. Hello Nurse is looking for what other lines from Disney movies like wrong lever do you want to see on a card?
Look at the feathers. Don't they look lovely, June? That's what I want to see on a card.
That's good. I don't know how to incorporate that on a card as like an action.
I feel like the feathers, not an action. It's probably like flavor text.
Flavor text, yeah, sure.
June, that could just be. I guess it wouldn't be. What is a genie commentator version? That would be what it was. Genie commentator.
That's funny.
That made me think of the still I think he's rather tasty from One Jump Ahead. With the same style where it's like the ladies. That would be a good one. Ultimately, I think I said this on, or maybe Kirsten said it, but we both kind of agreed on this. We really want to see any of the lines from the. Now I can't remember Dodger, and it is slipping my mind. The Dogs in New York movie. Wow.
Oh, you're talking about the Elton John one.
Yes. No, the Billy Joel one.
Billy Joel
one. Not Elton. Billy Joel. Yeah.
We're having a moment here. I swear, fellow kids, hang out with us. We're cool and hip and not old and forgetting everything.
Come on. Brad should know because it's in his list of Disney dice.
Oliver Company. I was waiting for you to get to it.
I was gonna get it. I'm not full brain rot yet. It's okay.
My hungry self went to Dodger Dog, and I'm like, now I want a hot dog. So I stopped thinking about Disney entirely. But
what's your answer?
Mine?
Yeah.
Is Andy done? I have 2 written down. I wrote down Boom Baby because that came right to my mind from they were already talking about Pull the Lever. So Boom Baby, some kind of Cusco action, kicking down a door, doing something to like some sudden action in the game. I don't know exactly what it would do. Win the game. Boom Baby.
Boom, win the game.
Yeah. And then the other one I thought of randomly as we were like getting ready for the show was Pinja Again from the Lion King when Nala and Simba are wrestling. They're early on in the movie, and some kind of like lockdown card that exerts a character and they can't ready or something. So, those are my 2.
If is good. That from Hercules, they're like if is good, right? The Pain and Panic. Actually, I think it's a flavor text on one of them.
It might be. Yeah,
that would be a good card too. Anything from Hercules, honestly.
I need to see Hercules.
A lot of great options out there, honestly.
For sure. Let's move on to the last question here from Martin Karp, the bulk benefactor here at the Rules of Villainy server. He asked, do you think the announcement of rotation pre-Worlds has got people to overlook the reign of Jafar?
What is reign of Jafar? Oh, right. The current set. I'm joking. The answer is kind of yes, in my opinion. I think we all kind of agree that it is a little bit. We personally have gotten the Constituents Corner is overflowing with rotation-based questions that we're trying to save for later because we want to enjoy Reign of Jafar and what it has to offer. But we will definitely get to them. And we definitely encourage other people not to move on yet. Reign of Jafar is still a fun meta, still a fun game.
Yeah.
We'll get to the rotation when we get to it.
Yep, it is. And also you can just, for the next few weeks, tell your opponent, good luck. That card's getting banned in a few weeks. Enjoy. So
I don't like that dooming. I don't know much about rotation. I'm not going to get into it, but like I'm going into it with optimism, like hoping that so we'll talk about that more. As Andy said, we have a lot of questions regarding that. And we will be answering them in the future episodes. But that's going to do it for Constituents Corner. So if you guys want your questions answered, please comment on this video, join our Discord, and ask in the Constituents Corner channel, and we'll get them here on the episode for you and answer any questions that you might have. Back to you, Vince.
All right, into our main segment. As Andy teased early on about triple deck, we're going to walk through a little triple deck exercise. Andy, you want to tell us what are we doing here in this main segment?
Well, we've seen maybe one or two triple deck events that have happened through like private tournament organizers, and Worlds is going to be really the first big triple deck event. And I mean, we're all first time TCG players. I don't know what triple deck is. Apparently it exists in some other card games. But I just got really curious, to see how it worked out. I kind of thought, it's just Lorcana with 3 different decks or whatever. But I watched one of the events and saw that there's this huge opportunity for some incredible variety in the decks you can play. And because you're able to bench one of your opponent's decks, it really unlocks this additional realm of deck building possibility. And it's like so wildly different from just regular Lorcana, in my opinion, that it was really cool. And I just kind of wanted to, talk about it a little bit, talk about some of the different strategies. We've all sort of put together a first pass at like some, ink combinations that we'd want to play, and, a strategy sort of to go with them. We're going to kind of try and see how we think we would fare against each other, and how the different strategies match up against each other. So I guess I'll start here. I went with the strategy of 3 decks that do the same thing. So all 3 of my decks, I picked Amber Amethyst, Emerald Steel, and Ruby Sapphire. And now you might think like, oh, I know Emerald Steel, I know Ruby Sapphire. You don't. You're wrong. Yeah,
I'm curious.
Amber Amethyst, hyper aggro,
Traditional,
expect. So we're gonna aggro you down no matter what. Emerald Steel is actually, you guessed it, also an aggro deck. So we're gonna run you down with Cursed Merfolk, with Mr. Smee. I like the Pegasus. I've got that shift line in there. And then you've got a ton of options because you're basically going to blank out either Ruby or Steel. In this case, I'm going to go with Steel. So I'm able to play a lot of these smaller characters like Merfolk, Fred. I know that Fred will have to really be challenged into. There's a lot fewer Ruby cards that can sort of interact with them. And I'm going to win the game before they can get to something like B-Prep or Big Sisu. And then last, I went with Ruby Sapphire, which, you guessed it, is also an aggro deck. So we're going to play aggro cards with Ward, like Kick Cloud Kicker and the Shift Kick Cloud Kicker. And then we're going to do probably the same thing that Brad is maybe going to look to do in one of his decks. And we are going to go the Flynn route with Ruby. So we're going to go Flynn Rider into that new Prince John, which is pretty spicy. And again, we've ignored Steel, so there's just nothing that hits that. So I'm going to play the characters like that 5/2 Pete at 3 cost, because I don't have to worry about Storm or Strength or anything pinging that for 2 damage, because I can bench Steel. And we're going to go faster than every other deck out there. I've tested these decks out, each of them once, and I've won 1 time with each of these decks. So I have exactly 100% win rate across my 3 triple deck format. So feel free to sign up for my Metafy in the description below.
Lovely stats there.
I do still have appointments available before Worlds starts. So if you are in your hotel room as a Worlds competitor looking, for some advice the day before, hit me up.
Yeah,
I got it.
How much are you charging?
It's negotiable.
One packy.
Okay. Yeah.
1 packy.
Well, hey, I mean,
no. You gotta at least get the Worlds the promo.
Yeah, no, we're going on
like a promo.
We're going for with the bald guy from Shark Tank, a royalty deal. We're going for a royalty deal. I'll teach you everything I know. I just want a little bit of your winnings, right? Like maybe break me off a piece of that,
Somewhere RMB's ears just perked up. What?
All right. So Brad, you gonna walk through your decks here?
Yeah. So my decks that I chose for this exercise are the decks that I'm already playing. Of course, the Amber Ruby Fasa would be modified specifically for this event, not the one that I currently have built. Where he is talking about the Flynn, which is on my mind already. To chip in there. In general, but for this mode especially, it's a great card, especially since I am playing that Prince John. But
you don't think you're getting that for free, Brad?
Advice. I owe you a packy. I owe you a packy.
Flynn Rider, that's Metafy. Right?
You gotta schedule a Metafy appointment.
I've already been thinking about that Flynn for a while, but my 2-drops in this deck are already too much. So I already have too many 2-drops. But and I really like that Lumiere. I don't want to cut him. So anyway, so Ruby Fasa, the Blurple, of course, that I'm currently running and having a lot of fun with, and then Emerald Steel, which I didn't land on. I would think if I'm trying to go try hard and win this tournament, would be the discard version of it, because that is one that everybody plays and finds success with. But that is not my style. I don't like playing like that. It feels bad to take away your ability to play the game. So the other options here are like some kind of pirate deck or some kind of something that I would have to extensively test out to have fun with. Ping deck, something, I don't know. Anyway, those are my 3 color combinations there, and as Andy was talking about they all to the aggro that he is playing there would be very, very hard to get around 3 games with. I was thinking about, I don't generally with my Blurple don't have a problem with the Amber Amethyst aggro. I generally, most of the time when I play it, I find a way around a lot of exerting. I have exerting abilities in that deck. I have a lot of freezing and bounce package to take care of things safely, things like that. So there's never really a problem. But 3 different aggro decks into these, all 3 of mine, does not sound like a good time. I do run utilities like Teeth and Ambitions, and I'll have to look into other Ruby stuff. As he mentioned, he's going to try to eliminate Steel on probably his first game just to start with that win. But yeah, I would have to. I mean, this is one I'm going to have to do a lot more research in removal options for an approach like Andy's doing, where everything is aggro and just go, because taking away that instant removal.
I only have to.
Well, actually, so what Andy's gonna say, what Andy will probably do is try to get to only go up against Steel once out of the 3 games.
No, I'll bench Steel. I'll bench the Steel, and then
the entire time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's one.
Well, it doesn't matter what I pair.
Yeah, you bench one for the entirety of the round that you're in. So Brad's is not the greatest example, because honestly, my strategy might lose to Brad, because his long game deck, the Blurple deck, actually has pretty decent early game against aggro and stuff. But if you're looking against like something like the meta decks, like Amber Steel, Emerald Amethyst, and Ruby Sapphire, I would basically bench the Amber Steel
For
so
sure.
they don't get that option. And then I would probably just take the L on the Emerald Amethyst. I'd try, but because it has things like foxes and crabs, and it can draw a lot of cards with Diablo, and it's probably going to beat some of my aggro decks. But then Ruby Sapphire just basically won't stand a chance against my aggro decks because I'll be able to just go as fast as possible.
Yeah. Because in this case, you're talking about a traditional Ruby Sapphire deck.
Right. Any of the two, the manner or the item version.
Items.
The item version will be even easier, but the mana version for sure as well is still, unless they're playing like the Super Goof, Super Peepo. But yeah,
even then, like Ruby Sapphire, like now that they have that bell, you have a turn 1 bell, a turn 2 Tipo. A turn 2 Tipo can still take care of a Lilo, Maleficent, whatever 1-drops that you have still questing at that point. Or if you flood the board with 1-drops, Tipo is valuable in the sense that he can take care of those before you get the Donald Duck down in the. I'm talking about Amber Amethyst specifically, but or even a Merfolk if we're going that route. But I think Ruby Sapphire is in a better place now than it used to be with aggro. You got your 3-drop Sisu that pings those one things as well. Those 1 or 0 strength as well. So
it used to just be brawl or ramp to I've seen the Mulan played and stuff. But yeah, I guess you're right. And ultimately, I do think my decks are a little weak. I honestly think I would probably look at Brad's colors. I think not the Mufasa version, but I think Amber Ruby has really, really strong aggro. And then I think Emerald Steel, again, not discard, but just like a more aggro version, I think is still a really good deck that you can build out. It has a lot of the bigger characters in Steel, things like Lawrence, Larry, and Smee are
Larry
good at getting around Ruby. And then Blurple, I just think is a good overall deck into most matchups. So, but yeah, basically go aggro, and then you just need to beat one deck twice, right? They have to win with the 2 decks that you leave behind. So you bench one, and then they have to win with both of those. And as long as they can't win with one of them, then you win, right? You just go to 3 games every time, you'll just win. So that was sort of my strategy here. But looking at Brad's, I think I probably lose because, I would have to ban out your Steel, and then
and we're playing under the presumption that you see the deck list too, right? So you don't see the Emerald Steel and think that it's discard. You know that it's Pirates or something, which still has removal in it. Yeah. Okay.
Well, if I see that it's Pirates and it doesn't have as much of the removal, then maybe maybe I bench. If you're running some Mayor Jank, if you're running some Mayor Jank, then the Blurple is probably the one I'm most afraid of. But
right now, this is my World's Watch Party deck list because that is my Red Fossa, my Blurple, and the Smorkana Pirate deck that Brett built that I have not played yet, but I'm excited to try out. So
is it an off-meta Toby special?
It might be. I think it's actually a Brett build, but it could be. They may or may not be the same person. I have not confirmed that.
So Vince, you went an interesting route. I think you kind of couldn't help
surprise me.
Well, I think someone said it that Vince has to play Ruby Amethyst or else he's not Vince.
I did, yeah.
So
yeah,
you're kind of shoehorned into one.
Yeah, so I went a little bit of a different route, which is like I basically kind of understood that I wanted to play to my own strengths, and with that would ultimately probably have one deck that was going to end up being weaker as a result, but still I think viable. So I went with Ruby Sapphire and Amber
Ruby
Steel
Amethyst.
and Ruby Amethyst. I'm sorry, thank you, Ruby Amethyst, and then Amber Steel and then Emerald Sapphire.
I would think sorry, the jump in. Well, I'll let you finish. I'm so sorry.
No, go on. What was the question?
I would say in this specific exercise, since you know you're playing one of us, that you better get a lot of practice on that Emerald Sapphire, because we're going to absolutely ban your Ruby Amethyst.
Yeah, you can't ask him to, like, I mean, he doesn't know exactly, like, sure, if he's playing a triple deck tournament against all of his friends, then you're right. And I guess in theory, if Vince is DKP here, like, everyone at Worlds, all 27 other competitors know that DKP is a Ruby Sapphire, like, guy. So there is some of that comes into play, but I think more so Emerald Sapphire, like, that's how good are you at that list, Vince? What kind of list are you playing there?
Well, I'm probably thinking more like along the Muses list.
Bend to my will.
Yeah, bend to my will.
Qualified.
Which honestly, like, I think actually does good against Brad's decks in some ways, but I think would actually do worse against your aggro versions. Like, I think the aggro is where I would actually have some trouble.
Yeah.
Not a lot of challenging in that one, right? There's just a lot of bouncing, so they're not actually losing a lot of their players. They're just getting him back and playing him again.
I mean, I guess. Let me take a look at.
I was gonna say, I think for going against Vince, I would still probably just ban out the steel, take the L to the Ruby Amethyst, and then just turbo cook the Emerald Sapphire.
I mean, because even the real problem is like, even if I try to think like, okay, how could I maybe like get, or the real problem is with that the Emerald Sapphire deck is that it is not a good matchup against aggro, just at all. Like, and there's really no good tech cards for it. It's not that it can't answer it; it just has to survive to a later game, and that's hard to do, especially if you're going hyper aggro. I mean, I guess you could tech in something like a Under the Sea, but I was just looking that up. That's an 8-cost uninkable. Granted, it is a thing together, and that would probably mostly wipe a lot of your characters off the board, I would guess.
Yeah, foil too, if you really wanted. I mean, you could go more item build, but
yeah. But so that would be the area that, I mean, by far that's my weakest deck. So it's the deck that I would probably want to play the most to get better at and try to see the matchups and see what lineups are and stuff. I mean, I am currently playing Amber Steel, but we did say, just as a reminder to the listeners out there, if we hit 400 subscribers, I will play a Puppies deck at a set champs.
Since we said that last week, so since that came out on Friday, that episode came out on Friday, and we're recording tonight on Wednesday. Within those 5 days, we've gone up 11 subscribers.
Let's go.
Where are we at right now?
381.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're getting closer.
19 more votes. You got to do it, and your time's a ticking too. Because I at least I can't play all 5 weekends. I can only play 4 of the 5 weekends because we'll be at Gen Con.
Vince is only going to be able to show up to half of one set champs, so we got to make it work. we don't get Vince in at every single event.
Yeah. Well, I do show up, but I run one because I like Brad to play in the one that he runs.
And I try to get you to play in every time, and you're like, nope. I just want to sit here and watch F1 and hope that I don't get a judge call.
I was honestly
is running in circles.
It's probably a F1 weekend anyway, and I'll be watching the qualifying. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, as Sandy will say. But yeah, that's the strategy that I went. I wanted to play to my strengths and know that I had a weak deck that I can focus on to get better at, rather than trying to necessarily play to what I think the quote unquote meta was, to try to like game the system, if you will, which I'm not really saying you're doing. I think the strategy, especially that you have, which is build 3 very similar decks, is a good one. I'm just like, I want to go into this thinking like, what is the best way for me as a player that's not experienced necessarily at TCGs, that is especially not great at deck building? Like, how can I fit the 3-game format into my style of play?
Absolutely. That makes sense. I do think there is one important thing that is basically like you want to focus more on your weakest deck. So I mean, you pointed this out that you need to work on that deck because you don't have as much experience on it and stuff. But even like beyond that, let's imagine you're just like a supercomputer. You're perfect and make every decision right, no matter what deck you have in Lorcana. You still need to you're only as good as your weakest deck, because no matter what, you have to win with both of your decks, or in the finals, all 3 of them. But you have to win with 2 of your decks, and your opponent will find your weakest deck and they will not bench that one. They will bench a different one. And then you will then have to win with that weakest deck. So you really want to, try and make your worst deck as best as it possibly can be, which, I like Brad's strategy in this, where he kind of has 3 very reasonably equally strength decks, which is kind of what the sort of meta version is, that Amber Steel, Emerald Amethyst, and Ruby Sapphire. Very 3 even strength decks that just sort of make you say, well, okay, you can bench whatever one you want. I still have 2 very strong decks that have good matchup spreads across the board. Like Vince said, no like gaming the system, really. Just trying to play good old fashioned value over, Lorcana. Basically saying you have the better valued cards.
Yeah. I'm the kind of player that needs to do it. I was just having this conversation last night with another friend. Like, I learn the best by actually going out there and playing. I have to play this mode to actually understand if my approach to it is good enough, and see what those playlines are. Because thinking about it now is like, okay, yeah, I would love to just try this out with Andy this weekend, or either of you guys, anybody who comes to the watch party this weekend. Would love to try that out. But then I'm sitting here thinking, and we don't have to get into it now because I know we're running out of time, but adding that extra layer of the 5-game series for the finals, like, yeah. I don't know how to build for a 3-game set, and now they're playing for a 5-game one where they have to win with all 3 decks, and that just adds another layer of complexity, at least in my mind, until I see it. Whether or not that I'm also a chronic overthinker, yeah. I don't know, but it seems like there's so much going into each of those decks, and then you have to what you were expecting the other people to be playing as well. And I'm going to have to bench this to play this. And they're probably going to want to bench this if they see this. Like, it just, my mind's already exploding with the possibilities.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think, we are talking about some of the best players, so they are gaming the system out for sure. But I also think too, like, as just a general player, and we've talked about this a lot in our podcast as a general, is that, it is, I think, a lot of respects better to play to your strengths as a player, and understand your weaknesses. And even the top players will say, like, sometimes you just got to concede your weakness. Like, if you don't got it, you don't got it. And that's fine, as long as that's where that limit is, right? Like, you got to understand your own limit as a player. And I don't think that's just true of like Lorcana. I think that's true of like pretty much any competitive thing, is like knowing where your limits are and finding that. And so do you take a strategy like Andy laid out where, you play similar decks? They don't have to be aggro. Maybe they're all, discard. And I don't know that I would go that route, but, like maybe they're all some sort of like similar play style. Maybe you go more Brad style, where you try to play very similar kind of competitive level decks. They are different in how they do things, but they're very similar in like their competitiveness. Or do you play like a strategy like I have chosen here, which is to play to your strengths and really focus on your weakness that you've identified, right? And then you kind of think about the matches that you're going into. The really interesting thing, I think, what the wild card about all this is less, I think, actually the like deck, ink colors, and more when people sit down and they see your deck list and they see, oh, okay, I think I know I'm going to see what Ruby Amethyst looks like. And then they see the deck and they're like, okay, well, I don't know what these cards are because I haven't seen these cards in competitive play. Or, the last time I saw this card, I was opening a pack and it went straight into my binder, right? So I think there is some potential element of that too. And we have seen that not all, but some of these like top competitive players are also really great deck builders too. And so they can find creative ways to use cards to kind of, fit into this format. And so I think that's the thing I'm most excited to see over the next, where this episode comes out on Friday, so Saturday and Sunday, seeing, what that style particularly. Because like I feel like I can wrap my brain around the Brad style of how this play. I can wrap my head around my style. Where I think the question is like Andy is talking about that pathway. He's talking about these cards that are not meta cards in a traditional, 1v1 deck play situation. These are cards that you would never put in a meta deck if you were just going to play the best deck in the game.
I have Hiram in my Ruby Sapphire list. Just saying. I have Hiram in there.
The two cost quest for 3.
Perfectly legal 2 cost quest for 3 Hiram in there. All right.
I hope you have Olivia in your green one too.
But anyway, any last thoughts from either of you gents on this?
Andy, yeah, this is Andy's.
This is a lot of fun talking about it.
I just wanted to point out that I had Hiram in that deck because it's an awesome card. And Vinny the pigeon.
The pigeon,
not to be confused with villain Vinny.
You don't have Vincenzo.
No Vincenzo. That's too much ink. I'm talking about 3 cost uninkable Vinny that just gives you lore whenever one of your characters is banished. Throw that in the Emerald Steel list. Ooh, that's real nice.
I like them both. I've been called Vinny. I've been called Vincenzo. So I'm all for it.
And I got a Flynn Rider in Emerald as well too. I had to check to see if I had if there was a Amber Sapphire or Amber Amethyst Flynn Rider that costs 2, so that I could have a 2 cost Flynn Rider in every deck. That doesn't look like it.
All right.
I don't think so.
Well, as we get closer to the set champs, let us know if there are any decks you would like us to go deep dive in. You can let us know in the comments below or in our Discord server. Let's move on to Villain of the Week.
All right. Apologies to Gantu from Rise of the Floodborn Set 2. We have Maurice's Workshop. Thank you to everybody in the Rules of Villainy Discord for voting on this card today. I expected this outcome, but 3 cost uninkable Sapphire Rare. Looking for this ability. Whenever you play another item, you may pay 1 ink to draw a card. Flavor text. The solution you need could be just a few adjustments away. Art by Antonia Fleshig, and I hope I pronounced that correctly. This card, guys, man, it just got better and better every set. Didn't see a lot of play at the beginning, but now that we have all the 2-drop items that you can just spam out in the Sapphire decks, they're just draw city the entire game. It is a problem. It is since they banned Hiram, it's the replacement that they use for draw. If they don't find it, it cripples the deck quite a bit. I find, the most success I have is when they don't find that workshop. So now I'm workshopping ideas, ways to get rid of it early, with my Blurple, the 4 cost Wasabi, but is it really worth it on play to banish this workshop? Because they just bring it back a turn later with their 6-drop Tamatoa on turn 5, with the ramp that they've already had. It's wild, man.
Andy is looking up this card because he's like, wait, what?
What's about Wasabi? Yeah, man. It gives him a lore, but it banishes an item.
So let me...
it doesn't matter. I don't do it because they just bring it right back.
I don't know.
I just want to stop for 1 second. For our audio only listeners, Andy's confusion is like those memes where he's like wait, what? Looking at the
that's the first example I thought of, because that's the one I thought about recently. Like, if I'm playing a lot of red blue or Ruby Sapphire matches in the future, then maybe my 4-drop answer to get rid of it is to immediately get rid of it is that Wasabi. that we tested a couple sets ago when it came out, but ultimately got cut. What do you mean?
You
why?
think this is played on 3?
What do you mean?
Is that what you're worried? Like, is that why you say like
no. I mean, no. I mean that's the earliest I could do it, but like,
yeah, I don't understand. I feel like there's much better answers, and specifically,
there are. That's
Hideaway or
random.
Cusco, right? Hideaway or Cusco to put it into the inkwell.
Yes.
Now you don't have that problem
yeah.
with Tammy, and like you're giving me a lore. Like, I mean, what next? Are you gonna play like
that's a bad example.
reverse Hiram, where like you banish my item, but I get to draw all 2 cards? Like, I'll do that.
It was a bad example
for me.
Andy's gonna go down this rabbit hole.
No.
You touched on it, Brad, but I just kind of want to emphasize that I think the reason why this card has seen more play though is because of the Hiram ban. Like previously, it saw play, but it was more in like an alternate kind of very items heavy version.
Didn't need it
of Ruby Sapphire. But now it's kind of like a critical component because it gets you that extra draw power. And especially like when you have multiple of these out and you could pay that one to draw, like it really honestly gets oppressive because we talk about this. Like one of the strengths of Lorcana is if you have more cards in hand, the more likely like I think you are to win the game. Like we don't have stats on that. We've talked about it. Maybe we do like a Google sheet sometime in the future and get you all to tell us. But I just really do think that's what makes this card in some ways really oppressive and one of the reasons why we see it so much. But yeah, I mean, unlike character cards, item cards can always kind of be a little meh when they're villains of the week.
This one I think is well deserved. Even Kirsten, she was like, out of the list that I was like, hey, how about this one or that one, this one? She's like, workshop. I hate that workshop. And we're like, all right, let's have some fun with it. Let's have the Discord vote on it. And I told everybody, I told you guys privately, I'm like, workshop's gonna win. It's the least interesting to me, but it is the most villainous card right now because
for workshop 3 times with all of his alt accounts I saw on there.
I didn't vote. No, I didn't vote. I didn't vote at all because I was like, this is how it's going to be.
I did, and I voted for this too, so I don't even know why I'm saying it from that.
Wow. Vince
I know
rigged election.
What I mean by is like, with like characters, you can talk more about their interaction because you're challenging, you're questing with them and stuff. Items, like they sit on the board and they kind of do exactly what they say, right? They're very, very cut and dry. And so like when we talk about like for villains of the week, I'm well deserved. Maurice's workshop is well deserved. It's just really hard to talk more about it because it's like the card kind of does.
Unlike Hiram, who over the course since set 2 got more and more answers to him with his one strength. We got brawl and all kinds of things to get rid of him immediately. There's just not as many answers to removing items. That's why I threw out that silly wasabi answer. Then there's like Steel has, they can tech in the find them and flatten them specifically for this matchup because this, Ron and Justin and everybody here locally who run this deck have 20 plus items in there. So you get big value out of it the later you do that. But by that time you get to that part of the game where you want to get like max value out of banishing all these items, like they're probably going to win anyway by just bringing them back. Like they've already cycled through all of their deck. And it's just
but as Andy said, you really just need to put it in their inkwell.
Well, you need to put it in your inkwell, or I mean, like finding my flatum is like that's like super greedy. You're trying to go for all of their items. You really only disrupt one of their items, right? So you play a Benja or Rise of the Titans or something to just hit the workshop on 3. You're right; they'll be able to get it back, but we're not necessarily on 3. But like as soon as they play it, essentially. Because
it is a tempo loss, though.
Yeah, it is a tempo loss, and if they don't have the card to bring it back, then they're definitely hurting for it. The one thing I do find interesting, like we're talking about Hiram here, the big reason that I think Workshop is so great is that it allows you. It sits on the board very well, being an item. There's only item removal in 2 ink colors, in Sapphire and Steel. That's it. Otherwise, there's ink. There's item removal in Emerald as well, right? So there's 3 ink colors that have item removal. And I think Amethyst has like item bounce a little bit.
Amethyst it's staff or something, but that's
Amethyst,
something. I don't know what it does.
So
doesn't matter, doesn't get played.
Right. There's minimal item removal Hiram, on the other hand, also can stick on the board fairly well, being a 1/6. Brad says, there's other characters that deal with it. There's only 3, right? It's Ruby, it's Brawl, Sisu, and Big Sisu. They're the only direct answers to it. Otherwise, you're having to exert and swing 6 into it, right?
Yeah.
Into that Hiram. So it's and Steel, again, you're having to use multiple songs essentially to take out this Hiram. So it's a card that can sit on the board and bring you back into the game just by drawing one of your many, many items in the deck.
Watching somebody draw this and then just suddenly they just pay 1, draw 1. It's a popsicle. Pay 1, draw 2 because the popsicle plays and gets another. Just suddenly they went from 2 cards in hand to 6 because they just cycle through this so much. 21 items in these decks just triggers this card all the time, and it's just. It's wild. Yeah. The only times I've ever beat the good players like Ron and Justin is when they don't find their workshop. That's how pivotal it is to they find their draw, get the engines going, and find their win condition through that. But there's with a deck like Blurple that has no answer to it other than to just outdraw them and get the board presence just to be prepared. It's just it's a brutal card and very very tough to deal with. But
I think ultimately Hiram was better. I think we can all probably agree with that, given that
R.I.P.
Given that you can put items on the board, leave them there, and then pop them later with Hiram. It's inkable. It only costs 1 more. There's a lot of positives to the Hiram, but Workshop is a very adequate card. I think that Tamatoa and Scrooge both play into this card very, very well. It makes this card much, much more playable. The fact that that Sapphire's item Ariel basically is a big old beefy 4/4 Scottish duck, that's pretty nice. And you can play it for free sometimes. So it helps fuel the Workshop, but ultimately it's a little slow. Is
and
really
it's 3 cost.
concern.
John throws this in his Queen Ruby Sapphire and plays it for free when he finds so it's
But speaking of items, gentlemen, this artist has 3 items.
4 total, including
total.
This one. Yeah,
Including this
4
one.
total.
That's a good segue. Yeah, Antonia has 4 cards in the game, all 4 of them items in the same set. Set 2, Rise of the Floodborn, Sleepy's Flute, Fang Crossbow, and the Weight set, in addition to Maurice's Workshop. Hasn't had a new card in the game in a while. Hoping to see more, maybe branch out from the items, but 3 of those. I mean, I guess Weight set gets a little bit of play too. Maurice's Workshop gets the most. We've seen Sleepy's Flute in the past be very win set championships for Jesus, and Fang Crossbow has had its day being teched into Ruby Sapphire for mirror matches and stuff as well. So
played it in Seattle. 72 cards, baby.
Let's go. But that's it for the artist showcase. That's it for the week.
Yeah. Well, let us know what you think about the villain of the week. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you're joining us on audio, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Thank you, our one Pandora listener.
We love you,
Pandora. And if you're joining us on YouTube, which if you're not, you really should. We have a lot of fun over here. So be sure to give us a like, a subscribe. Check out all of our other content. Ring the bell so you're notified. Deck Test Tuesday, Meta Report, live streams. It's all here.
And speaking of the Meta Report, we may or may not have one this weekend. With the world's happening, so much happening over the weekend that may or may not happen. Just to forewarn you. And we understand your time is valuable, so we appreciate you spending a little bit of it with us. Would like to follow along as we plot our devious plans, consider following us on our socials. We're on Instagram, Blue Sky, and the platform formerly known as Twitter @RulesOfVillainy. We also have a growing community on Discord, which you can join with the link below.
Till next week, stay safe, fellow villains. Be wary of wannabe heroes who want to disrupt your villainous plans. And as always, remember the rules of villainy.